Joe Higgins, and of course the columnist with the Irish Independent, Kevin Myers. Joe, welcome to the programme. Kevin Myers, welcome to the programme as well. Joe Higgins, can I come to you first, because I've just got your press release. You might tell listeners your view.
Yes, George, in relation to the fact that air traffic controllers found themselves in a position where they had to take this industrial action to defend 15 of their colleagues who were suspended, I think it's highly irresponsible of the Irish Aviation Authority to put workers in that position. Now, regrettably, it's a commonplace now that many employers think that they can take kind of high-handed action, taking their example obviously from the Irish government, which thinks it can unilaterally impose massive changes in conditions, or, if the case may be, wage cuts on workers, on public sector workers in the case of the government. And that simply is intolerable.
But that is exactly right, Joe. I mean, these companies are taking their lead from the government that in order to survive, there have to be changes. Although in this case, it is not about a wage cut, of course. It is about a demand by the traffic controllers for a raise rather than a pay cut. It's important to make that point.
Well, I think that the issues are in dispute, as I understand. Now, I have been under the disadvantage of being away for a few days. In fact, I'm speaking to you appropriately enough from Frankfurt Airport. And if it were yesterday, I would have been forced to stay here overnight. So I don't think anybody wants to be in that position. But the point is, workers simply cannot accept a situation where employers can just come along and unilaterally, and in this case, while these issues were going to the Labour Court, impose the draconian suspensions on workers. I mean, if workers generally, whether they're private or public sector, are forced to bend the knee and take that on every occasion, then we're into a situation of almost dictatorship.
All right, Kevin Myers of the Irish Independent. Kevin, how do you react? You're presumably with Ronald Reagan and Michael O'Leary in terms of off with their heads, are you?
Well, I'm off with the heads of the Aviation Authority's management as well. And they're political appointees of Fianna Fáil. I mean, the minister, the late minister's brother is the head of the authority. They overpay themselves extravagantly. So, but then they also manage to overpay their employees. Average pay is €113,000 for every single air traffic controller. This is a ludicrous amount of money to be paying to people, and then demanding, the implementation of agreements which are irrelevant. Joe complains about unilateral actions of management. Believe me, managements all over Ireland have been acting unilaterally and cutting pay, and that happened to me, and I accept it as a commercial reality. We are overpaying ourselves, and we have to have lower pay cuts. We have to have larger pay cuts and lower incomes, and that's the reality we all have to live by, and that particularly includes the employees. I'm not going to say that management was right to do what they've done, but I absolutely am going to say that the response of the workforce has been disproportionate. We lost 900,000 tourists last year. Our economy is facing ruin. Now, whatever was done to the air traffic controllers does not merit the blackmail, the coercion, the bullying and the intimidation of the Irish travelling public and Irish business by a group of very powerful people who have a monopoly assured by the state. Now, the issue is, this is a state monopoly which can make money because it is protected by the state. And the kind of corrupt practices we've seen mean that, for example, the Aviation Authority buys the services of Met Éireann for €8 million a year. Now, that's another government-owned agency. They were offered the weather services of a British company for €1 million a year. But such is the cosy cartel between these semi-states that the public, the paying public, ends up paying an extra $7 million for Met Éireann services.
All right, but Joe Higgins, of course you took a pay cut also. Didn't MEPs have their salaries reduced this year?
I don't think that's the point, George, really, with respect. The fact is, you see, that the media, which is owned largely by billionaires, are self-appointed enforcers for the type of action that are being taken against workers' living standards and income at the present time. Now, we hear no such rants, for example, by them exposing the power of the international financiers and the markets who hold the entire world to ransom, if you like, and hold in their hands the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people. That is accepted because that is capitalism and they're in favour of that. The most serious issue, I think, that has been raised, though, is of the Minister for Transport, who raised this issue, that he will consider curbing the right to strike through legislation. Workers in public services are important areas. So the question now is, who is in the line of fire of this government? Nurses, bus drivers, public servants? And is that the type of regime that we want? A government whose policies for 12 years crashed this economy, who now wants to take the fruits of that on the backs of working people, and if they're prepared to stand up and to fight that, we'll have them standstill as if it was a Pinochet-type regime. I don't think that's on. I don't think workers in Ireland, whether they're private or public, will accept that whatsoever.
But Joe Higgins, private and public workers voted for this government. I mean, in a democracy, you get the government you voted for. So I'm sure a lot of these air traffic controllers voted for Fianna Fáil and the Green Party.
Yeah, but they didn't. No worker voted for the type of policies that have been imposed for the past 18 months, George. We were told a completely different story by this government when it was facing the people in 2007. And what they're doing now, and the policies they've carried out in the last 12 to 18 months, makes liars of them. Therefore, they have no mandate as far as I'm concerned. They have no authority. They have no moral standing in reality. And it's quite clear, as we've seen from different groups of workers, many low and middle paid indeed, that they are not happy whatsoever and are preparing to fight the actions of this government.
Now, this is what Michael O'Leary said today. He had a press conference supposedly on a summer schedule, but this is what he said about the air traffic controllers.
We welcome ongoing threat. We hope there will be more of it, and as frequent as you like, until the air traffic, the overpaid, underworked air traffic controllers are beaten into submission. Look, if these guys, and this is, I've heard all the usual nonsense on SIP2 radio this morning about this is about technology and all that. There is absolutely nothing to do with technology in this. This is the air traffic controllers and those half-wits in impact blackmailing the IAA and the travelling public into conceding a 6% pay increase at a time when they are handling 25% fewer flights. And Dempsey, useless and all that he is, should have come out yesterday and ordered them or told them to go back to bloody work, or otherwise sack them all. And that's what should now happen.
Kevin, that is populist nonsense. With the greatest respect to O'Leary, he knows that Noel Dempsey can't sack them all. And I mean, that is not the kind of employment situation we have in this country. I mean, Brian Cowen could not do what Ronald Reagan did all those years ago.